At 37, this does not feel like freedom. It feels like another bill. You are standing at the kitchen counter after work, still wearing the tired face you wore in traffic. The electric bill is open. The insurance notice is open. A grocery receipt is curled beside the coffee mug like it is pretending to be smaller than it is. And on your phone is a recurring transfer for $700 a month. Not to the 401k. That is already happening from the paycheck. This is separate. A taxable brokerage account. One ETF. SCHD. You look at the transfer button and think, honestly, this is annoying. $700 could fix a lot of little problems today. But that is exactly why you start. Because every month, the bills keep walking into the room first. You want one thing in your life that walks in for future you. Here is the part that keeps your plan honest. In this example, you earn $100,000. 15% goes into the 401k. So $15,000 a year leaves before you can talk yourself out of it. Your company matches 6%, capped at $6,000. So the 401k bucket gets about $21,000 a year in total. That matters, because the dividend account is not being asked to do the whole job alone. It has a different job. The 401k is the deep retirement engine. The SCHD account is the bill freedom bucket. It is money you can watch grow in a regular brokerage account, with dividends that might eventually land where your bills land. These are example numbers, not a promise or personal advice. But now the question has teeth. What can $700 a month become if it survives every version of your life? SCHD is not a magic word. It is not a cheat code. It is not a little dividend vending machine that never jams. On your brokerage screen, the dry facts matter. SCHD seeks to track the Dow Jones U.S. Dividend 100 Index before fees and expenses. The current receipt shows a 0.060% operating expense ratio, a 3.25% trailing 12-month distribution yield, and a 3.33% standardized 30-day yield. That sounds dry because it is dry. Good. Your plan needs dry. The index is built around U.S. dividend stocks, with screens for dividend consistency and quality style measures. That does not make it risk-free. It just means you're not chasing a random giant yield on the internet because a thumbnail yelled monthly income. You're not trying to get rich by Friday. You're trying to build a bill payer slowly enough. At 40, nobody would make a movie about your account. After 3 years, at 7% annual total return in the example, the SCHD bucket is around $27,900. Using the current 3.25% trailing yield as a rough income snapshot, that is about $75 a month. $75 does not make you free. It does not pay the mortgage. It does not let you quit work and wander through a farmer's market on a Tuesday like a person in a brokerage commercial. But it proves something important. Money can show up without you clocking in for that specific dollar. At first, you do not spend it. You send it back into the account. The dividend buys more shares, and those extra shares can help create more future dividends. Tiny worker hires tiny worker. For the first time, a bill on the table is not only asking you for money. At 45, your account is still not loud. The example balance is around $88,900. The dividend income estimate is about $241 a month. That is not mansion money. It is not even close. But one ordinary bill can now get quiet. This is where your house starts feeling different. You still work. You still check prices. You still have months where the car makes a sound that should be illegal. But the dividend bucket is no longer a theory on a phone screen. It has shown up enough times that you believe it. You were at work. You were asleep. You were driving home. And the account was still quietly doing its little job. That is the psychological turn. Your paycheck is money you trade time for. The dividend is money your money went out and tried to earn for you. You keep the transfer alive, not because you love missing $700, but because you have seen one bill lose its voice. At 50, your life does not become magically cheaper. Insurance renews, groceries still behave like they went to a private school. The house finds small ways to ask for money. And you are old enough now to understand that retirement is not a someday word. It is walking toward you. But the SCHD bucket is around $174,500 in the 7% example. The dividend estimate is about $473 a month. That is a real line item. It can cover a chunk of insurance. It can cover utilities and leave some room. It can make the checking account feel less like a cliff edge. The account is still not the hero by itself. The 401k is still growing in the background. But the dividend bucket has started doing the thing you built it for. It is not just getting bigger. At 55, your kitchen table looks different. Not because the bills vanished, they are still there, with their little windows and their serious fonts. But now you split them into two piles. This one still comes from the paycheck. This one can be softened by dividends. The example SCHD bucket is around $294,600. The dividend estimate is about $798 a month. That number feels different because it is close to the original transfer. For years, $700 left your checking account. Now a similar amount can come back from the bucket you built. You did not work an extra weekend for that exact deposit. Your old money, your reinvested dividends, and your repeated boring transfer have been doing work in the background. You still go to work. You still have responsibilities. But the paycheck is no longer standing alone in a dark alley, holding every bill. At 60, your question changes. For a long time, you wondered if this account could do anything at all. Now the example says the SCHD bucket is around $463,000. The dividend estimate is about $1,254 a month. That can cover a serious part of ordinary life. Utilities, insurance, a chunk of groceries, the boring stuff. The stuff that quietly decides whether you feel trapped. And sitting beside it is the 401k folder. In the same 7% example, the separate retirement bucket is around $1.16 million by 60, because you kept contributing 15% and receiving the match. This is where freedom stops looking like a fantasy and starts looking like options. Maybe you keep working, maybe you change jobs, maybe you say no to overtime that used to feel mandatory. The account has not removed responsibility, it has removed some of the fear. At 65, the paycheck loses its throne. It is still useful. Money is useful. Work may still matter. You may like parts of the job. You may want structure, people, health insurance decisions, or just something to do that does not involve reorganizing the garage for the fourth time. But the dividend estimate is now about $1,894 a month in the 7% example. The SCHD bucket is around $699,000. That income is not a private island. It is more powerful than that in a normal life. It can mean a part-time schedule instead of full-time pressure. It can mean saying no without rehearsing the bank balance first. It can mean one bad manager has less control over your nervous system. This is the part people miss. Financial freedom is not always a dramatic exit. Sometimes it is a quiet Tuesday, where work becomes a choice instead of a threat. At 67, your red folder opens. 30 years of $700 a month means you contributed about $252,000 to the SCHD bucket. In the 7% example, the account is around $818,600. Using the current 3.25% trailing yield as the income estimate, that is about $26,600 a year, or about $2,217 a month. That number matters because of what it is. It is not a paycheck from your boss. It is not overtime. It is not another Saturday traded away. It is the account sending cash flow because the money you kept putting to work may now be strong enough to send some back. Taxes matter, inflation matters, dividend payments can change. Markets can be rude at exactly the wrong time. But now look at your room. The dividend bucket can cover a meaningful part of ordinary monthly bills. The separate 401k example is around $2.05 million. The work badge is in a drawer, not because work was evil, but because it stopped being the only door. The boring transfer did not make you flashy. It made you harder to control. At 67, you lay out 3 receipts because the middle number does not own the future. At 5%, the SCHD bucket is about $570,800 by 67. At 7%, about $818,600. At 10%, about $1.44 million. If you applied the same 3.25% yield to those balances, the monthly income estimate would be roughly $1,546, $2,217, or $3,911. That range is uncomfortable, and it should be. Any money path that makes the future look like a vending machine is selling the wrong feeling. But each receipt on your table still says something important. The transfer changes the room. The dividend bucket changes the bill stack. The 401k changes the retirement floor. The ending can move. Somewhere between 47 and 57, the hardest scene is not the math. It is the moment your habit almost dies. There is always a reason. A nicer car, a better phone, a vacation that looks deserved, because honestly, maybe it is. You are not a robot, and money is not only for future spreadsheets. But the danger is not one skipped month. One skipped month is $700. The danger is that the transfer stops being part of your identity. At the dealership window, you see the shiny version of today and the older version of yourself in the same reflection. One choice says, look successful now. The other says, make bills quieter later. That is why this gets personal. The account only grows if you grow around it. You have to become the kind of person who can want nice things without letting every nice thing cancel future freedom. Between 60 and 67, you notice one quiet turn. At the beginning, the dividends were not treated like prize money. They were little workers getting sent back into the building. They bought more shares. More shares meant more claim on future dividends. And future dividends could buy still more shares. That loop is the part people feel too late. The first tiny dividend at 40 did not change everything because it was not supposed to leave yet. It was proof that the machine could make a sound. Later, when the income is meaningful, the setting can change. Reinvesting can become cash deposit. The dividend can leave the brokerage account and walk into checking, where your bills actually live. That is the difference between wanting passive income and building a payer. A payer is something in your life that shows up when the electric bill shows up, even if you did not work one extra hour for that specific payment. At 67, future you slides the folder back across the same counter where the transfer started. So did $700 a month buy freedom? Not the cartoon version. Not the version where money solves weather, health, taxes, markets, family, and every bad surprise life can invent while eating cereal at midnight. It bought something quieter. It bought the moment a phone bill stopped being scary. Then a utility bill. Then insurance. Then a meaningful chunk of monthly life. It bought the feeling that work was still valuable, but not the only rope holding the bridge together. And the strange part is how ordinary it looked while it was happening. You sent money out. The money bought assets. The assets paid dividends. The dividends bought more assets. And eventually some of that cash flow could come home and help pay bills while you did absolutely nothing for that specific deposit. Financial freedom, right here, means the next paycheck no longer has to rescue every bill by itself. Comment with the monthly dividend income that would make you breathe differently. $250, $750, $1,500, or $2,500. Like the video if this made future you feel more real. And subscribe to Stick Finance for money stories that make the boring choices easier to see.